And we're back with another episode of NBA Observations right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Truly appreciate you joining us. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you again. And of course, always getting some deep insight into the NBA. And who better to provide it than a good man indeed? Go ahead and check out his work today covering the Oklahoma City Thunder. Life at the top must be good because he is there with the New Century Press and the Suave Report. It is, of course, Calif Poncy. Calif, great to have you back on the show. We're talking NBA observations. I hope this is going to be a regular thing between you and
I hope so too. I love it. It's a great time.
I. All right, great time indeed. I did say anytime you want to come back on the show, please do so. And you are back indeed. And I wanted to go into more of an NBA general discussion. We're about 2 to 3 games in, depending on the team so far. So some early NBA observations. Obviously, we'll start with your team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Had a couple of really close calls, and then in their last game, really kind of lengthened it out. Obviously, Jalen Williams not being in the lineup and some injury concerns. Isaiah Joe as well being a little bit of a hindrance, but your team is still, again, depth is such a big thing in the NBA, as my team, the Lakers, is currently finding out because they might ask you and I to go ahead and suit up next. But with that said, it is so advantageous to have a deep team because other players step up to the plate and are capable of winning games for you, just like nothing's happened.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's been obviously Shea doing what he does. Scoring at will, getting wherever he wants. Really good defense as a team, and then I mean, so far you speak to that depth. I mean, in the second overtime game against Indiana, it was Aaron Wiggins came up with a few huge moments, and I think he did against Houston too. And then kind of an unknown for those outside Oklahoma City was AJ Mitchell. And, last year he played and he was pretty good right away as a two-way guy. And I think Thunder fans were all pretty aware of kind of like, he's something. This is not just like another end of the bench. Like he's going to be able to play in the league. And then he's really taken a step. I think he's been over 12 points every game this season. Really also just kind of the magic that Sam Presti's working, he is like the one thing you would have kind of pointed to this Thunder team, like, well, after Shea and after Jalen Williams, there's not necessarily another guy who could create with the ball in his hands. And that's gonna, if someone fouls out or gets hurt in the playoffs, you're down to one guy, and that can all go bad, as we all know watching this league. So having another guy who's really efficient with the ball in his hands, a pretty good shooter, a emerging playmaker, he's really been the story for OKC so far because, I mean, we all knew that this is who Shea is, and he's just proving it again. And then, I mean, Chet Holmgren's also been great, but for those who were watching last season before his injury, he was playing at this level. So I kind of think this is just who he is as a healthy player. And yeah, so nothing really too shocking so far with the Thunder. Those 2 double overtime games were a little uneasy just because they didn't play hardly any close games during the regular season last year. But, they won both of them. That's just another feather in their cap. I think maybe the experience they got in the playoffs last year helped them with that. And yeah, so I think really the story so far is just emergence of AJ Mitchell as a third creator for a team that was really the one thing that they needed desperately, was another guy to create.
Absolutely. I can't say I blame you a bit on that. I do want to ask your thoughts on a couple trends so far. One is off the court that the league earlier today kind of laid the hammer down a little bit more on in regards to gambling. I'll talk about that in a sec. But the one thing I'm seeing, and I especially saw it firsthand on Sunday night with Austin Reaves and his 51-point career making performance, 51 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. And that is something we saw similar last year, is like early in the season, the refs are calling a lot. And maybe it's a feeling out process or whatnot. And yeah, I know Shea is a specialist at getting to the line. But when we're seeing Jimmy Butler against the Lakers go 16-16, when we're seeing other players getting to the line 15 to 20 times, when we're seeing Austin Reaves get to the line and making 21 of 22 free throws, I understand that there's usually a feeling out process for the refs on what they're going to call a foul on and what they don't. I have a feeling that they'll ease up a little bit on it, so it will not be as advantageous for the players who are the foul getters at this point in time. Because right now, if you're very sly in getting your fouls, like Trey Young, as SGA, Jimmy Butler, Austin Reaves, Luka Doncic, those guys out there. There's a list. There's a group that has just got that skill. James Harden is another one. You're going to feast right now because I think that's the way they're trying to feel out everything. It's creating higher score games, which I like, but I know not everybody is liking that as well.
Yeah, I mean, seeing kind of the conversation around the Thunder, there's a lot of free throw conversation every year around Shea, right? It's just kind of who he's been for 4 or 5 years now. He really is great at getting to the line, and he does it in the way that I was talking to a friend about this the other day. I think it's so kind of agitating for people to watch because I really do think that 1 year with Chris Paul, he learned a lot from Chris Paul and really
Yeah.
And Chris Paul he's always done he stops and gets ran into, and he does stuff that guards have done, to get free throws forever, but he's like 5'11". Shea is like 6'6" and does all the same stuff. So I think maybe that could be a reason why it specifically with him is such an annoyance to people. But speaking to the greater league, I mean, I think you're on it. It's just right here at the beginning of the season, it's always, the refs kind of maybe have to readjust to the physicality that the league plays with, which is, I mean, it's been a pretty more physical league ever since they had the weird meeting at All-Star break a few years ago and said, like, okay, guys, like, no one wants to see guys shoot 15 free throws a game every day. Like, it's not really what the fans want. So, I mean, I think that really I think you're on it. Like, it'll, as the season settles down, the refs will kind of figure it out, and you won't see Shea getting 26, followed by KD getting 18, followed by Austin Reaves getting 22. Like, it's just all these super high. I mean, there's guys like Shea and like a Luka and even like a Reaves, like they just have whistles that are, and it's really due to like they are just great at drawing fouls with the way they play. But I mean, they do have whistles, like they're always going to get a lot of free throws. That's just kind of the players they are, whether there's rules against it or rules for it, or the refs are feeling it or not. Like, so I just think that those are kind of players it's always going to be with. But the weirdest one to me was KD, because like Jimmy Butler always draws a lot of free throws. Shea, like Kevin Durant is not a high free throw drawing player at this stage of his career, and he got 18 in like 28 minutes. I mean, that was the one that I thought was really odd. But yeah, I mean, I think that I'm interested to see if it does become a trend throughout the rest of the season, or it does just calm down again, maybe here in the coming weeks, where the league is like, okay, guys, like we understand these guys are probably getting fouled a lot of the time. In the case of Shea and Luka, like fans can be annoyed all they want, and it's kind of annoying to watch sometimes. Like they are just getting fouled on a lot of these plays. They're just really good at getting fouled. But yeah, so I think it'll probably calm down here soon, but maybe not. Who knows?
I'll just say this. I think that they will curtail it a little bit, but I mean, I speak for a team that for years has feasted and thrived on getting to the line. That's just what the Lakers game is. With LeBron, Luka, and Austin, they are a team that is, and even without Luka, they were a team with Anthony Davis and LeBron just feasted on the line. I mean, I used to see in complaints every day from non-Lakers fans on our post game shows. Used to just complain and complain. Oh, that's fixed for the Lakers. Fixed, and this was a daily occurrence and it has been for seasons. So I'm not unfamiliar with this.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I understand the Lakers have players that are really in tune with what it takes to get to the line. But I will say that you probably will not see maybe December, January going forward. You'll stop seeing as many 15, 18, 20, 22, 25 free throw attempts. I'm thinking because that's what happened last season. Once they figured everything out, like towards the end of the year, you started to see a shift with the referees and it go accordingly. I personally like seeing the higher scores, but I know that free throws are a lot to do with it. And I understand that it just, that's what it creates. But personally, as someone who likes to see scoring in the league during the regular season to keep things more interesting, during the playoffs, I like the fact that they let a lot more go and the scoring goes down because it becomes more intense. But during the season, you have to do things to keep things interesting for a casual audience. And I think keeping the scores high, and I understand sometimes that means a parade to the free throw line, but in order to do that, you're getting and soliciting higher scores because of it. So I think it makes it for a little bit more watchable product as far as the higher scores are concerned, with the trade-off and the caveat of the fact that a lot of times the free throws are because of it. But we've seen a lot of competitive games and a lot of teams that you wouldn't normally think are going to be able to compete at as high a level have better chances to win games during the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole free throw conversation, I mean, being, someone who covers the Thunder, it's such a point of conversation for us the last few years as well, with Shea. And you look into it, and like Luka is also in this camp where, like, just historically speaking, like Shea and Luka and even Harden a few years ago, like they're shooting the free throws they should shoot. Like this is the same amount of free throws that Allen Iverson shot and Dwayne Wade shot, and not that they're on this level of player yet, but like where Kobe shot, like the scoring buckets that they're in, they're shooting 9 to 11 free throws a game. Like that's just kind of where they should be historically speaking. So I think that with this online era, like people's annoyance is so much more visible to everybody, and you can see it on Twitter, and all of a sudden you can go and like everyone hates Shea or everyone hates Luka or whatever you want it to be, But I think historically speaking, they're just where they should be. These are all-time scoring guards. These are two of the 10 most unstoppable offensive players on a game-to-game basis that have ever played, statistically speaking. So they're going to get a lot of free throws. It's just how it works. And the league as a whole, yeah, I mean, it'll calm down. Like Austin Reaves is a really good player who I think if he hits free agency is going to make a lot of money this year. But I don't think that we're going to see many Austin Reaves 22 free throw games would be my guess. I just think that that's just kind of in that game with Luka and LeBron out, he was the primary scorer and he got a lot of looks. And at this stage in the season, they do call a lot of fouls every year, like you said. So I don't know. I think anyone who's really worried about it on a grander scale probably just needs to take a step back and realize that the guys who are going to get a lot of free throws all year should get a lot of free throws all year, because in the history of the league, they've always got a lot of free throws. It's just how it works. So, I think you're pretty spot on with your analysis of it early.
Because my question to you is, and to everyone out there, have we seen more close, interesting, competitive games so far this season? I think in many cases we have. And I think that's what started right off with the great Houston OKC game that came down to a double overtime. And then the next day there was an overtime game with Denver and Golden State. And through the weekend, we've seen competitive games throughout. This game with Sacramento and the Lakers, it was really hard fought and contested and was really enjoyable to watch. That's something we have been able to say about regular season games quite a bit at times during the course of the season. That's not having an NBA Cup name attached to it. And that's what I want to see. Is I'm not a big fan of this NBA Cup. I really don't like the concept too much. I like the play-in now. I've really grown accustomed to the play-in, allowing more teams to get opportunities. I know that one of my co-hosts, Joe Sorrell, I don't think is as big a fan of that, but I will just say with the NBA Cup, I don't find it as compelling personally, maybe because the Lakers have already done it, and that just now it's just, I saw what happened as far as the residual effects of them trying so hard to win this NBA Cup, and the fact that they were just mush for the next weeks after. I just like the fact that I'm seeing competitive games at this point, and really interesting looks. Teams that I weren't expecting to win are winning, and teams that we were expected to win are getting out of the gate and struggling a little bit. I like the fact that it's not as predictable as we were planning on being starting the season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just really speaks to this depth of talent in the league right now. Like even a team like Sacramento, who I think everybody probably is pretty low on and thinks probably isn't going to have a very good record at the end of the season. Just look at their team, and Sabonis is a really good player. Same with Levine and DeRozan. They have their warts. But these are all great players, and I think a lot of the time, in throughout NBA history, if a team had three players at that level, they would at least be a playoff team. And I just think we're in such a rich era of depth of talent that like all these games are going to be close. And there is situations where free throws play into that. Like last night, the Clippers and the Blazers played, and the Clippers shot like 20% better than the Blazers the whole game. Like the Blazers were under 40%. The Clippers were up by around 52 to 55 the whole game. But the Blazers shot like, for most of the game, I want to say like 20 more free throws than the Clippers. And it was a close game at the end. So there is moments like that where I think the free throws that get called this early in the season are a part of that. But I just think really, in my opinion, the close games is just this overwhelming depth of talent that's in the league right now that we just haven't really seen before in terms of the worst teams have good players. And even back in like the Sam Hinkie era, like not that long ago, like the 76ers just like didn't have good players on their team for like 3 years. Like they just didn't have, like Robert Covington was their best player. I mean, so I just think that's what I think that's led to that change the most, is just this crazy influx of talent that is currently in the league.
Once again, I'm on with Calif Poncy. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing for the New Century Press and the Suave Report. He'll make sure at the end to give the cheap plug, as I call it, to go ahead and make sure you know exactly where to find all of his great work on a regular basis. Before we get into the good stuff as far as the what's gone on in this past week and the observations on that, I want to address obviously what happened last week with the indictments. The FBI went down as far as two separate but related. They're separated, but they're related regarding illegal poker games, and then also possible points fixing or performance fixing as far as is concerned. Dealing with players as well, as far as Terry Rozier, who was, I've noted on the show that night. It's funny because I saw about 10 or 11 different little blips over the YouTube as far as from different news organizations, and none of them got Terry Rozier's name right, which was funny. And then also as well, of course, Chauncey Billups, and former player, former coach, and at the time of this allegations was an unpaid assistant with the Los Angeles Lakers. You know, how we always get dragged into everything. Damon Jones, among over 30, different individuals that were indicted by the FBI as far as these concerns. So it has come to the attention of the NBA. And the NBA, which cleared Terry Rozier back in the day, kind of has a little egg on their face. They issued a memo earlier today addressing the need to assess dire risks of gambling, and sent this out to all the teams as far as their seriousness in trying to combat this. Yet, and as again, Joe Soro would probably tell you, the first thing that they do is they embrace that money, the sheer amount of funds that are coming their way from different gambling operations, whether it's FanDuel and whatnot. I mean, I remarked the other day that of the different types of television program, Calif, that I have liked to seen so far, it's the takeover by FanDuel of the Bally's. That series of teams that they took over for their games, because they have interesting things to see on their HUD when you're watching it. It's not just the score. You're seeing as far as on the side, who's on the floor, how many, and it's got a continuous ticker on those players on the floor and how long they played, their current stint on the floor, or how many minutes they played overall, or how many points that their running total is. I understand why they're doing it, because of gambling reasons. And that's a small positive on the overall negative that this shadow of gaming and gambling has reared its ugly head on the league. Your thoughts on this? I mean, I'm leaving it open to you for discussion on this. But I wanted to make sure that we weren't going to ignore it, because it's something that you just can't ignore, because of obviously we've had the Dejounte Porter scandal, and now this scandal on top of it. So obviously it's a problem this league and other leagues have to address.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's crazy, is it's now touched every league with, I remember in the NFL, Jameson Williams and the Lions got suspended a few years ago. You got the stuff going on with the Guardians in Cleveland with their pitching staff this year. And now this in the NBA we kind of knew about the Rozier stuff. They dismissed it or whatever, but then I saw that Brian Windhorst, who I do not think is in the business of like making things up or rumor mongering typically, was kind of like, they dismissed it, but like everyone kind of knew that it was more like it was always weird what was going on with Terry Rozier. Like it was never like an open and shut, like, oh, he's cleared and then now he's just not playing the rest of the season. It was always kind of a weird Michael Jordan 1994-esque situation that he was suggesting might have been going on. But yeah, I mean, the Billups stuff is what's weirder to me. Like as a younger person who the mob to me is just like this ancient fairy tale that like happened thousands of years before I was born, and just like has a bunch of shows about it that are cool. And then I see like, oh, well, actually an NBA coach of a team you pay attention to is like running fixed poker games with the Italian mafia. I would not have thought that I would have seen that headline in my life. It wasn't something I was really expecting to see. So I just think it's kind of weird more than anything. The thing I have heard that makes a lot of sense to me, like Zach Lowe, I think said this on his podcast, where like, why are there props available for Jonte Porter? Like, who's betting them other than people who are trying to like cheat? Like that, there's no reason other than that. Like he's the 15th man on the Toronto Raptors. Like seriously, but I don't know that there's really a fix, as much as Charles Barkley said. Like this isn't really like a league problem. I think it's a dumb guy problem on TV a few days ago about Terry Rozier. Like I kind of agree. Like if this really becomes a thing where it's like every team is touched and guys just can't help themselves from doing this, I think maybe it becomes a bigger deal in the grand scheme of things. But I think more than it's impactful, it's just pretty like crazy. Like the Bill stuff specifically in this poker ring, like just not something I really ever thought I was going to have to, talk about or hear stories about or anything like that. But I'd say the easy fix to this is really like get rid of Terry Rozier's, maybe not even Terry Rozier. He might be too good to get rid of his lines, but like Jonte Porter lines do not need to exist for anyone. Like no one, Jonte Porter's mom doesn't want to bet on Jonte Porter. It's over. Like there's no reason for those to exist. So I would just say get rid of those really. And that probably solves a lot of the problem, I think.
I'll just say this, when it comes right down to it, it obviously is something that the league has to address, but for Terry Rozier himself, yes, I agree totally 100% with Charles Barkley. It's a dumb issue. It's a dumb person problem, because you're earning $26 million this year on this contract, which there's a possibility he's on leave right now, both him and Billups. And I don't think either of them are coming back personally at this point. And I think there's a possibility if I was Pat Riley in the Heat, as soon as the first available date I could void that contract, I would go ahead and void that contract, simply said. So, I'm sorry apologies to the players union or to the coaches union for Portland if they wanted to do the same thing, but I would go ahead and do that right now and save myself a ton of cash, because that's what you leave yourself open to. And if you wanted to be stupid enough to go ahead and risk your career on this, and when your career is already fading into the sunset already for Terry Rozier, that had to be such a big mistake for him. And now his future looks like if he does decide to come back, it's going to be somewhere overseas, because he's a persona non grata in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fortunately for the Heat, ever since they traded for him, he had kind of been a bit of a Section 8 anyway. Like he just hadn't really been a very good player for them. So if this would have been like Bam, then I think it's a really different conversation. But it sucks that the league has to deal with it. It sucks for, the people involved, or if anyone was affected by it really. But I don't think the Heat are a worse team if they just go ahead and, waive Terry Rozier's money and get it voided, like you said, as long as they don't have to pay, have it on their cap. I don't see any reason why. It's probably a positive just to get them off their books anyway, to be honest. So, I don't know. Like I said, I think that until we see this really start to trickle down more, and it maybe becomes like major players that are implicated in it, I just don't think it's really that truly big of a problem beyond like an insane headline, like mafia and in fixing games and stuff like that. Always sounds crazy, but in terms of how much it impacts the product or impacts the league, I really don't think it's that much, unless this thing that Windhorst said is true, where it's like they knew they found something guilty with Terry Rozier, but didn't really want to deal with the headlines. And then they, just kind of silently suspended him. But that's kind of who knows, right? That they'd have to really prove that, I think, for it to matter. But that's the only scenario I see where this really is a big deal long-term.
It's so funny, because if they are successful in voiding the contract or voiding the last year, you would say, if you were another team, let's say like the Philadelphia 76ers, you say, Hey, Paul George. I don't know what the lines are like, man. Do you know what the lines are this evening? Just wanted you to go ahead and let you know if you wanted to take a look at them. Just, and not that we're suggesting anything, but those are the lines out there. Just wanted to let you know. So
Yeah, try and get Embiid and Paul George kind of roped into their own gambling ring there, and
exactly,
free up some
avoid
cap
that
space.
100 million right
Yeah.
off the bat, right there. Exactly, but it is, of course, NBA observations. Truly appreciate you joining us once again. So we're now going to get back to the fun stuff as far as what your observations are so far in the league. But I wanted to do a little bit different. I know I sent you a message as far as what's going on. I want to do something a little bit different in regards to your thoughts on the league as far as some of the surprising and disappointing teams so far. If you had on your bingo card the four teams with a 10-point or more point differential, what teams would that be?
Well, unfortunately,
There's four.
I kind of looked at this right before I got on here, so I don't know if it's quite it, but I know Charlotte's one of them.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, geez, it's Charlotte and Utah. I think does Utah
Yes,
still have
that's
one?
the hard one. That's the
Yeah,
one that probably would stump everyone. So they're nice going on that one.
yeah. San Antonio,
Yes.
and then I don't remember the fourth one. Do the Thunder don't have one? They're only +8 since their first two games were so close.
Yep, they're not there yet. But Miami is the fourth
No,
one
that's
to let
yes,
you
yeah,
know
yeah,
it's +12. But I don't think you and I together would have normally, if we didn't look at it, we would have
yeah.
them on that card. So I mean, they're very early results, mind you. But I just wanted to go ahead and throw that fun fact out there. But let me ask you this: five teams that are surprising right now because of where they're at early in the season. The Chicago Bulls, the Philadelphia Sixers, the Charlotte Hornets, the San Antonio Spurs, and there was one other one I was going to have you talk about. Let's go with, I think it was going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's go with those. Let's go those five. Which of those teams do you believe in the most?
The Spurs probably, just because I think Wembanyama is just so beyond. I think everybody who pays attention to the league knew that this is a really incredibly special generational, once in a lifetime type of guy. When he made that shot against Dallas, that everyone knows exactly what shot I'm talking about, when he went between the legs, behind the back, step back for three, and he's 7'7". Okay, I guess I guess the rest of the league's just gonna have to deal with this. He's 21 or for so it'd be him alone. Because looking at Charlotte, because I went and I was looking what teams would I put up for this some most surprising award or most surprising, and I looked at Charlotte, and then you go look at it and they really just blew out Washington and Brooklyn. So I mean, good on the Hornets. They've been down there themselves for a while, but I don't think that they're a truly contending team because they blew out the two probably worst teams in the NBA. And the Bulls honestly are pretty good, I think, and they've done this without Kobe White. And I found myself before the season kind of thinking about who I thought was going to overachieve, and I really started to find myself kind of leaning into these teams that they know what they are and they have an identity, even if they're not the most talented. Portland falls into this for me too. These teams know what they're gonna do and who they're gonna play for and what they're gonna play like. The Bulls know. It was evident when they drafted Essengay, and now they're going to build around Giddey and they're going to play super fast. They're going to run up and down, and they're probably not going to be the best defensive team over the whole season, but they are going to run up and down. They're going to try and score a lot, and they're going to be a transition team. And to me, in the East, that's enough to maybe, be a little bit better than everybody thinks you're going to be. But in terms of who I think the best of those teams is, I think it's the Spurs. I mean, they're doing this without De'Aaron Fox and Sohan, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but I mean, he's a good NBA rotation player for sure. And I just think Wembanyama is just going to keep getting better, probably, unfortunately, for the rest of the league, and especially the Western Conference.
I think the best one, I know I did see, I was watching that live when he did it, and I was like, whoa, when he did that. But I still think the best highlight so far of the season is him blocking 2 straight shots from the Brooklyn Nets players, 2 different Brooklyn Nets players, block shot, gets the ball passed back to him within about 2-3 seconds later, takes the ball up court, and he shoots almost another logo 3 right there. Within a span of 12 seconds, you see instantly the superstar status and the fact that he could be an MVP candidate now, not next year or what. Now is something. If he keeps up with these video game numbers, especially 6 to 9 blocks a game, which he has 18 blocks so far this season, it's going to be crazy to not have him off your top 5 list in the league, especially if San Antonio keeps playing the way they did. And I'm going to make a note. And I got to get on Megan Price back on the show here, as far as get her back on and ask her again to reevaluate the situation with the guards, because she was adamant about De'Aaron Fox being a part of this future, and I was kind of leaning and hinting at that. I really think he should be traded. After seeing the guards that they have there, not Vassell, because I'd move Vassell up to small forward. I think he's a small forward. I think that the Harper needs to start playing alongside Castle. I understand they're not the greatest shoes, those two in the world, but they've got a scoring mentality, fast pace, and they play well on the defensive end. I just think this team is better with those two graduating right there, going forward, evolving, learning, getting the minutes and the time. I just think you cannot keep Harper on the bench. I think you need to go ahead and start those two, start Vassell at the 3, and trade Fox and use that salary of his to start looking at building around a power forward or a 2 or 3 guys for the future that can make your team for a stronger run this season, as opposed to waiting for the future.
Yeah, I mean, with him just signing that 5-year extension in the current climate of the NBA, it's probably going to be kind of hard to trade him for like another player of his stature, just because of how the aprons work, But I kind of think I agree long-term for sure. Like, I think the outline of this team is pretty evidently Harper and then Castle and then whoever you want to put in between those two. I don't think it's probably going to matter. And then Wembanyama, right? Like, it's just going to be those 3, I think, are the future of the team. Even if I have always liked Fox. I think Fox is a good player who could help a lot of teams, including the Spurs. I think they'll probably be better for this 1 year if they do keep Fox. But I think in the long term, like maybe after this season, I would maybe try explore that. Or if a Giannis comes available, obviously he could be the big linchpin salary in that, and an all-star level player to go back to the Bucks. And then that makes the Spurs immediately just unbelievable if they were able to pull that off. So I think I don't know if I agree that I'd start trying to move him now, but I think long-term, the clear twosome of this team is going to be Harper and Wemby, and then Castle is a really overqualified third banana probably.
Well, you can't move them now anyways because of the December 15th and January 15th guys that would become available to help facilitate a trade. But this season for De'Aaron Fox, it just seems like to me it would be something that you're seeing the product on the court. I know it's early and it might be an overreaction, and the rookie himself, Dylan Harper, will have his ups and downs, but you see it out on the court. You see it right there in the early time against, teams, very formidable teams in the NBA. I just think that there is a future for that kid, and to have him only in limited minutes coming off the bench is kind of a mistake that this team needs to rectify moving forward. Because I think you're often very guarded and very cautious with rookies, but I think this batch of rookies, like you're seeing now, so much better than last year's rookies. By leaps and bounds, they are so much better. And you're watching VJ Edgecombe right off the bat for Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse said, "I'm going to start you. I'm going to play you 35 minutes, and I'm going to live with the consequences." And so far, the consequences have been pretty good because he's averaging over 20 a game. Same Ryan Kalkbrenner, who I think if the Lakers would have traded, they traded twice in the second round. Got to do Thiero. He hasn't even played anything because he's had knee surgery. Instead, if they moved up 2 more spots, they would have gotten a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's now been the starting center for the Charlotte Hornets on their team. So, I mean, there's players in this year's draft that really are ready to play now. And you don't see that very often. But Dylan Harper seems to me like he's one of those players that can really contribute and contribute right away.
Yeah, I think in a lot of drafts, Harper probably would have been seen as like the number one guy, right? And he just happened to be in a draft with Cooper Flag. And then, I mean, as soon as the Spurs jumped, it kind of became like the Spurs. Like, of course, it's the Spurs. Every lottery, the Spurs always jump. And every time they jump, they always get someone good. They never miss. And so, and in college, even like Harper was in a really weird situation at Rutgers. It was him and Ace Bailey and kind of a bunch of guys who probably weren't qualified to be at that level of college basketball. And it was kind of just those two doing their thing without a ton of structure. And so I don't think we really got to see the best of Dylan Harper in high school or in college. So a lot of people probably weren't quite up to speed with just how special of a prospect he is. But maybe that he's ready this quickly is a little surprising, but I'm not surprised that Dylan Harper is looking like a future all-star level player. I think that's just the kind of pedigree he's had. And yeah, I mean, the Spurs are going to be great for a really long time. And they needed to get lucky to kind of find that perfect age fit future star to go alongside Wemby, and they did. And it seems like they hit it out of the park with Harper. So, yeah, I think this Spurs team is just going to keep every year they're going to get better for a while. And it's going to be even the guy they got at 14, I think, Carter Bryant. Like I think when he develops, will be a perfect fit at that 3 or 4 position next to Wemby and Harper and Castles. So I just think that that's a team that knows who they are. Like I said, that's been a big thing for me, kind of, is just like, do these teams know who they are? Do they know what they want to do? Because I think that makes a big difference in the NBA, as simple as that sounds. And I think
Go ahead, please.
And I think the Spurs know what they want to be. It's this year it's going to be the Wemby show, but we got these 2 other young star guards who are elite on both sides of the floor and are going to be able to perfectly complement him and be stars in their own right. And I just think they're going to be really good for a really long time. Not that I'm, having some controversial opinion there, but Wemby being this ready this fast probably makes the want to fast track a little bit, to more tempting. But I just think if you let this team come together as it is, they're going to be a title contender for the next 5 to 7 years, assuming they can keep everyone healthy and together.
Once again, I'm on with Calif Poncy, of course, from the Suave Report and New Century Press. Please go ahead and check out his work. He'll break it down in more detail before we head on out. But now we get to some of the disappointing teams. And actually, there's quite a mix on there. So tell me which of these starts to you is the most disappointing. Or if there's a series of teams, you could obviously please interject with them too. We're going to start off with the Toronto Raptors at 1-2, Atlanta Hawks at 1-2, Orlando Magic at 1-2. Boston and Indiana are both 0-3. New Orleans is 0-2. Houston is 0-2. Dallas at 1-2. I don't know if you want to throw in Portland at 1-2 as well. Those are the teams I think have gotten out of the gate a little bit underwhelming, to say the least. Which of those teams or a team do you think is starting off the year with a little bit underwhelming start?
For me, it's Orlando. I was looking at this and going through, all the candidates, and I just think it's not only that Orlando's lost, it's that and they're 1-2. It's that they have a negative point differential, -4 or 5, I think, and that really, if they're going to be a title contender, it's going to be because Paulo Banchero takes a step up. And he, if anything, through 3 games, not very many, a small sample size, he just hasn't been very good this year. He's under 20 points a game. I want to say he's under 40% from the field. The clip was going around social media. He took just an awful 3-point shot to try and tie the game in one of their games this season already. So I just think that they've been the most underwhelmed because I thought that was going to be a good team. I thought they were going to be an elite defensive team that was maybe going to have a young burgeoning star take some steps forward in Paulo. And I still think that'll be the case by the end of the season. But through 3 games, it's undeniable they've been the most disappointing me because like Houston's 0-2, but that OKC game showed me all I need. Like that's a good team. And I know they lost to the Hawks, I think, is the other team they lost to, if I want to say. But I think Houston's really good and they're going to be heard from in the playoffs. Atlanta, I guess, is a little underwhelming, but I honestly thought the Atlanta hype train got a little out of control there for a while. They still are a pretty I think any team that's really reliant upon Porzingis is just he's a great player who is was really crucial for that Boston title team, but he just has always been an inconsistent health bet. And I think that if he becomes your probably third best player, I just think that that's probably going to prove to be problematic over the season. So I think Atlanta is going to be a pretty frisky playoff team who could maybe win a round, but I didn't really have if things go right, they could win the finals aspirations for the Hawks like I did Orlando. And then Boston and Indiana, I think disappointing probably, especially to Indiana with all the injuries. They had, obviously Halliburton losing Miles Turner, and now they've had 1,000 injuries in the season already. I just don't think that's really fair to Indiana. Boston, you can say it is. I mean, they still have 2 all-star players in Derek White and Jaylen Brown, and they're 0-3 and haven't looked very good in the process. So, but I think it's Orlando for me pretty easily.
I'll tell you what, though, when it comes to what we're seeing in New Orleans, I think they were very determined to prove a lot of people wrong with their offseason and whatnot. And Derek Queen, he's gotten off okay. A lot of people were eyeing on him because of what the residual returns could be for Atlanta, but and seeing Zion playing at a high level, but this team just defensively, it's just getting killed. Giving up 124 points a game. I believe that's one of that is in the bottom 5 or 6 defenses in the NBA. So really right now it's a tough go for New Orleans, and we'll see if things get righted or if it's going to be a struggle for the rest of the season for them. And then Portland, we'll see what happens as we record this. This is recorded just before the Lakers play Portland tonight on a back-to-back, but I know that they've had a little bit of a tough start when you're playing the Clippers at on the road. I know that's always a tough match right there. I just think with Portland, will they be able to find their identity in time to go ahead and have a solid season? I think they got a lot of pieces, both young and old, and I just don't know if it actually will fit or mesh the way that they wanted to. And sometimes you fall in love with what happens at the tail end of a season for a player or for a team. And I know a lot of people talked about how Portland had one of the best defenses in the league the last half or last quarter of the season, and how they went on a run and almost made it to 500. I don't know if that's fool's gold or if it's something where maybe it's just a step that they're going to take towards even a better future. But right now, the early return says there's a little bit more work there to do, especially the fact that they've had the emotional hit of losing their coach as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I look at Portland and I love so many of their players. I think Tamani Kamara is great. Denny Avdia is great. I even like Drew Holiday for what role they have him in at this stage. Klingon, I think, is good for what he is. But they really are just going to be in a weird spot because they've already proven they're too good and too loaded with high-level role players to, I think, really ever mess with that bottom kind of 7-8 records, right? Like they have players who can shoot threes. They're great defensively. Now we'll see if that changes with a new coach. I don't know. I never really got the sense that Chauncey Billups was really kind of making that team. I don't think they were really outkicking their coverage because of Chauncey Billups. So we'll see if that is the case, if losing him really matters a lot. But I just think that until that team kind of finds a true star, because I guess they're probably hoping it's Shaedon Sharpe or Scoot Henderson, but I think those guys are nice players. I think Sharpe has his role in the NBA. He's a really talented scorer and a top 1% athlete. But I just described Jalen Green. That's who I just described with those descriptors. So I just think that until they either get kind of lucky with Sharpe or Scoot Henderson turning into a star, or they find one, maybe the young Hansen somehow turns into a superstar. Who knows? They seem to think he has that kind of ability. And until then, I just think it's just going to be a hard nut to crack for them in the West. All these teams, like I said, even Sacramento, like they have star players. The rest of their team's terrible, but they have star players. And you look up and down, the 8th, 9th, 10th best teams in the West all have like guys who in the East would be no doubt all-stars. And so I just think if you're kind of in the West without that guy, it's just kind of going to be rough. And they're just in a really tough spot because they've drafted well. They've made good acquisitions, like trading their trade for Denny Avdia looks awesome. Like he's a really good player who would start on, I think, about every team in the NBA, and he does everything you'd want. But if he's I don't know if he's their best player. He might be their best player. Like if he's your best player, I just don't know if your ceiling's very high. And so I think that's really the thing with Portland. So I don't know if disappointing is. I think that what Portland is going to be is just a really hard team to beat. You always hate playing them. But when it comes down to it, and you're in a 5 to 10 point game there at the end of the game, and the opposing team has a Shea or a Luka or a Wemby or a Kyrie Irving or any of these teams in the West, like go down the list, they all have one of these closers. Even like the bad teams like Phoenix, they have Devin Booker. Like they just don't have that guy who's going to be able to win them a game at the end of the game. So I think that's probably going to be Portland's problem.
Last disappointing team I want to cover is the Dallas Mavericks, who did win in their last game, but their first 2 games certainly weren't pretty, losing to the Wizards and the Spurs at home. I do want to say that so far the experiment of Cooper Flag and having the Monstars line up with nobody under 6'8", it hasn't yielded the greatest of returns so far, but Cooper Flag actually had a pretty good performance in his last outing. I'm assuming he's going to just take that and go from there. They kind of were better in their game against Toronto because they played D'Angelo Russell, a true point guard, extensively, as opposed to what they did the first 2 games of the season. Your thoughts on the Mavericks? I mean, it just seems like it's just not a perfect fit all the way around. And of course, the fire Nico chance in the first 2 home games didn't help matters. With that, though, the way this team is constructed, I just don't know what to make of it from week to week, because, again, a lot of size, a lot of capability on the interior, but the exterior looks a little weak. Do they have the shooting? Do they have the perimeter play? Again, until Kyrie gets back, I don't know what this team actually looks like until then.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, or not everyone, is a dramatic statement to leap to, but there's a lot of people kind of on the internet and in the media who really like this team because of that size. And like the Houston comparisons are inevitable, where like Houston starts this giant team too, but Amen Thompson really has point guard skills, and he just happens to be 6'8". Kevin Durant is awesome with the ball in his hands. Things like that, where I just don't think it's apples. I think it's apples to oranges comparing those teams. And I just think that the bigs for Dallas, like you guys dealt with this for years, Anthony Davis's just unwillingness to start at the center position is truly maddening to me, just as a fan of the NBA.
He's a power forward. He'll tell you. He's a power forward, Calif. Can't argue with him. Even though the facts are the facts, the statistics are the statistics. And at today's age, and he's getting older and looks a little heavier, I'll say.
Yeah.
It's just been there. I mean, he'll tell you, because we won on the bubble with JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard alongside of me, that it's going to work continuously year after year after year. But it doesn't matter. He is getting older, and as he gets older, he's gotten a little heavier, he's got a little stronger, and he's gotten a little slower, which facilitates him being more at the 5 position. And we always forget that, yes, when it came down to crunch time, Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee were not in the lineup at those times when it's crunch time. Guess who was playing center?
He's a center.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis is a center. Why? It makes no sense to me. And they have these guys like Gafford is a nice player. I think your guy Luka has given Derek Lively this lifeline of being this player who he just hasn't been since he left. Like he's fine. He's pretty good, but that's about it so far without Luka. And their best lineup, when healthy, will be Kyrie at the 1, obviously, and then Davis at the 5, Flag at the 3 or 4, Najee Marshall probably in there. Like that, it's the same thing as the Lakers. He just needs to play center, and they'll be so much better. But he just kind of has this unwillingness to do so. And until then, I agree with you. Like I just don't think their team makes sense in the same way Houston does. Like Flag is great. He's going to be an awesome player. I would bet a multi-time All-Star, probably a multi-time All-NBA guy. I think he's that level of prospect, but like he's not a point guard. He didn't play point guard at Duke. Maybe he played point guard in Maine, but probably he's from Maine and he's awesome at basketball. I'm from Iowa. We're in the same boat. They don't come out very often. Like if there's a guy like Cooper Flag, he's just better than everyone. It's fine. But yeah, that team doesn't make any sense to me. The way they've constructed it, they constructed this team that made so much sense around Luka, and then they got rid of Luka and brought in the one thing they didn't really need, which was another big, and not Austin Reaves, because defense wins championships, and now they're not very good, and the Lakers are going to be in the playoffs every year for the next decade with Luka Doncic. Like, I don't know. They are a team that really, from the basketball fan in me, I'm just frustrated with how they're run, because from the executives where Nico Harrison in the offseason is talking about, you guys just didn't see the vision. It's like, no, you made a historic leap to get an awesome prospect. That was not your vision. You got super lucky. And, I don't know. They don't make any sense. I don't think they're going to be great until Kyrie gets back. And even if he comes back this season, he's going to be, we've seen the knee injuries and lower body injuries with these guys. It often takes them a year or two to get back to who they were. And that's when they're younger, like Jamal Murray was. So I don't know. I don't love this Dallas team. I think I liked them. I want to say their number was like 40.5 or 39.5. I liked them to win more than that, because I do think they'll be a good defensive team. But in terms of any ceiling, even with guys as talented as AD and Cooper Flag, I just don't see it this season really at all.
I'll leave it with this one, Anthony Davis. Again, I appreciate so much that Anthony Davis did for the Lakers. And obviously he brought us a title, and we traded so many assets for him. And, if it's the old adage, how much would you trade if you know you're going to get one title, but only one title after that? And I said, I would just tell you everything, and we did, and ended up getting him. And obviously it worked out for the 2020 season. But I'll say this, I had a bet going with Laker Tom. I said, Tom, having AD, because he was adamant, like coaches are. We've had conversations, Ham before him, before JJ, talking about, oh yes, we need to make Anthony Davis a 5 that can shoot threes. He likes to shoot threes, so we're going to have him continue to shoot threes. He needs to be a spacing 5, and the guy has never been a good 3-point shooter. And I told Tom, I said, Tom, he is going to hit under 30%. I'm going to tell you. And he started out the season relatively good. He's in that range. As Gerald, he's rubbing into my face. Tom is, and time and time again. And I said, all right, we'll see how it goes. And it started to drift down and drift down and drift down. And the week before he got traded, he drifted under 30%, and he actually stayed under 30% for the rest of the season. And this season has been absolutely abysmal for a start for him as far as from beyond. He's not a stretch 5. Oh. He's a down, low, post-up player. You're just wasting opportunities to feed him in the post to get points he knows we should be getting, as opposed to the shots he likes taking from outside. It's like, oh, okay, well, he's a star player. Go ahead and let him have his. No, you're there to win games and be efficient in doing so. And if you got to have the man-to-man talk and say, you know what, AD, I don't want you shooting a 3 unless the shot clock's running out. Don't. Yeah. Go underneath and take the 5 shots a game from 3, and instead take it from 10 feet, 5 feet. We'll do that. We'll set you up. We'll keep getting you the same amount of shots. It just boggles my mind how he is so stubborn to continue to call himself a power forward, how he continues to go ahead and shoot these threes, and it just doesn't understand it's just not his game. And what he's best at, he just doesn't want to embrace it in full, Calif.
I think he, as a player, is a great kind of like real-life metaphor for what the Dallas Mavericks are as a team. It's like all these great skills, all these things any team would want, right? You have these, like, they can theoretically put a lineup on the floor that is the awesome defensively and can guard anyone and can protect the rim and guard on the perimeter and everything you'd want, but they don't play it. They went and got, their whole thing was founded upon defense wins championships. Then they went and signed D'Angelo Russell, who, another guy you had at the Lakers. No, I wouldn't say defense is his strong suit by any means. I don't necessarily think that's what his calling card would be. And so if you're going to do that, Austin Reaves is great. If Nico Harrison would have called Pelinka last year and said, we want Anthony Davis and Reaves for Luka, he still would have said yes. Like, it's Luka. So, like, if you want a guy who's going to be a ball handler, not play a ton of defense, but can fill it up, go get the one who's actually really good, not D'Angelo Russell. Like, They just everything they've done since that Luka thing doesn't make any sense other than getting lucky and jumping for Cooper Flag. That's the one thing they've done that makes any sense at all. And I don't know, as long as those people are running that team, I just don't think they're going to be very good. I just think they don't really seem to get it, because now what really makes the most sense for that team is to trade Anthony Davis again for like a younger guy or a guard to play with Cooper Flag. If only they had an awesome like 27-year-old guard not that long ago who made sense with Cooper Flag. Like
exactly. De'Aaron Fox. How about that? De'Aaron Fox. There you go.
There you go. That makes some sense, other than I can't imagine Anthony Davis in the Spurs infrastructure.
No. He would still want to play power forward, so he would get his wish.
He could be a power forward. True.
Yes, that's true. That's true indeed. I'll just say this. After watching that game between Dallas and San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama abused Anthony Davis like Anthony Davis did early in his career. I mean, if you want to model something after it, you could look at Anthony Davis in the first 2 to 3 years of his career when he was owning the league or owning players at that point in time, when he was younger, more athletic, et cetera, et cetera. That's what it looked like this past week. And I made that notation on the show the other day, and it sticks with me. Because there's those seminal moments in a player's career when you're no longer the top dude out there. And that moment when it just passes by, sometimes they're just like seminal moments in that we see, and we saw it last week when Victor passed by Anthony Davis as a top big man in this league. And I think that's going to be something where we're here to stay, barring any injury, barring any condition for Victor. Training at the Shaolin Monks, that obviously has paid off. But if this continues, Caleb, we could see San Antonio as a fixture in the Western Conference and Victor as a fixture as MVP.
I have already locked it in. I mean, I think Chet Holmgren is probably, if he stays healthy, which with him is a giant question mark, like if he stays healthy, I think we could be looking at like one of the better defensive centers in the history of basketball over his like 10-year hypothetical career. And he's just not even going to sniff a defensive player of the year. Like it's never, this guy, if he's healthy, is going to win the next 12 defensive player of the year awards. And while shooting from unlimited range and shooting 40% from three and being able to, there's nothing he's not amazing at, not one thing. And he's 21 or 22 years old. And with an organization that is going to surround him with the talent he needs, because they always have. And yeah, I mean, I honestly think we're already to the point with Wemby where with this particular conversation, there's just not a ton to say, because like everyone who watches him, like there's no one who would put him worse than the 5th or 6th best player in the league already. And that's like, it's so like, as a guy who covers Shea, who is like a great guy, who's like everything we've ever wanted as a star for OKC. Like he seems to really love the city. Like we saw that with Kevin Durant, like he still takes shots at the city. Like Paul George couldn't even stay there for 3 years. Like all we've ever wanted is a guy who just wants to stay there. It's why Russ is still so adored. And so, and I think like in most eras of NBA basketball, he would have like at least a year or two where he was the best player on the planet. He just would. And there's just no chance. No one's going to be better than this guy in like 2 years, if not now. Like, I think the only reason it's probably not unanimous now is because rightfully people have to prove that they're at that level. Like they are, it's not like a 5-game thing. Like you got to prove you're better than Jokic and Shea. But if at the end of the season, he's just the best player, I'm going to be not any surprised if they win 55 games or 50 games, which I don't think they will, because the West is so hard and that team is still really young around him and all that stuff. But if they do, he will win MVP at 21 years old, and he should. And that's just the level of player he's going to be forever. So
that's scary. Scary. I don't know if I told you this, but I've said it on the air a few times. I actually have, and I may be one of the few people who have on this earth a ticket to that first game he went to, and he played here in a suburb of Las Vegas, Henderson, Nevada, where he played that first game that against the G League Ignite. I'm thinking about getting it graded, and thinking about it hard, because I was hoping I would be able to see him develop, and yes, I have. He was great then, and he's even better now.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, scary. The vernacular, the sky's the limit, doesn't apply or shouldn't apply to a lot of things that it gets applied to, but the sky's the limit with Victor.
It sounds like any conversation about him removed from if you're actually watching sounds so insane. Like he could very easily be, and I do not put this lightly, like the best player to ever play basketball, and I would not be shocked. And like that's something you don't say for anyone. Like no one rightfully said that about LeBron after his first year, because like you have to do so much to prove you can be in that conversation, as you should. And I just think with him, again, there's nothing he's not good at. The only thing that can slow him down is if he were unable to stay healthy, which so far, I mean, he had his really freak, scary thing last year with the blood clot issue that I'm glad, he got handled. But I mean, it's his rookie year. I'm sure the Spurs, I don't think he's really had a very legitimate injury yet that wasn't kind of like a freak occurrence. And so, I just think that the way, like you listen to people talk about him, he's like, well, when he was like 11, he was like doing weird stretches with his feet because he knew he was going to be in the NBA and he didn't want to get hurt. Like all this stuff, you're just like, okay, I guess there's nothing wrong with him. He is a perfect basketball player, perfect, like good guy in the community who seems like a guy who everyone likes. Like there's just nothing wrong with this guy. He's going to be awesome forever. And the one thing that he has over like situationally, like when LeBron came into the league, he was with those Cleveland teams who just couldn't put one foot in front of another other than drafting him. They just couldn't do anything right. The Spurs team is the opposite. They're going to do everything perfect because they always do. And they already have heart.
Exactly. And I'll just say this. I'll finish off with this. I know that Michael Jordan is still the greatest ever. But
I agree. Yeah.
I've always said, if you in a lab, you built the perfect player to come out there. Size, speed, athleticism, ability to hit shots, etc., then LeBron James would come out of there. And for years I've said that, especially when he shoots 40%. It's just like, what can you do? What can you do to stop him? I may have to reassess that, Victor, because LeBron James ain't 7'5".
No.
Victor Wembanyama is 7'5".
And he was still growing as of last year. Like he's still getting taller. I mean, what's going on? He eventually has to stop growing, you'd think. But I mean,
and get stronger too. He has to get stronger.
I mean, he did his whole Shaq dunk thing in the preseason, and that should have been a warning sign for everyone. Like, all right, it's here now. It's not in 2 years. It's not next year. It's now. He's figured it out. Absolutely. He's not taking dumb shots anymore. Like he figured out what he needs to do. And
the one where he went by in the Dallas game, I think it was not. I wasn't sure if it was AD or not, but he went by and then he did the double pump slam.
Yeah.
And I'm just going. It's like I used to do with a Nerf ball. And I'll just leave it at that. So we will go ahead and continue. Calif, I would like to do this on a regular basis as much as you'd like to go ahead and do so. But before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and hear your thoughts as far as what you're up to, what you're working on, and all this great stuff that you're doing today in the world of sports.
Yeah, so for Suave Report, right before the season, I put out a piece about Jalen Williams that I worked pretty hard on that I thought was pretty good. It was kind of about his ascension defensively last season and kind of how he became, I think depending on who you talk to about Jalen Williams, I think he can be underrated or overrated. I don't think anyone really properly rates Jalen Williams in my conversations that I have. So it was kind of a story about his defensive emergence and kind of how he compares to Scottie Pippen a little bit. And that's the only thing I've put out recently because I've been pretty busy covering high school stuff. We got playoffs up here in Iowa for high school coverage. So it's been a pretty busy but yeah, I mean, that's the thing I'd point everyone to maybe go read for your NBA fix because I think Jalen Williams is a really interesting player who kind of how interesting he is isn't appreciated enough outside of the Oklahoma City fan base because he's just such a unique player in my opinion. But yeah, so I'd tell everyone to go read that and then everything that Adam puts out on the Suave Report as well. He always does great work too. So read neither one of our stuff. I hope you wouldn't be disappointed by any of it. So yeah, that's what I've got going on.
That's the new age Scotty.
Yep.
Jalen Williams, the NBA's newest two-way superstar, That's the latest article from Calif Poncy. It is available now on the Suave Report. It's easily get to, and like I said, you guys do a great job of covering the league and then OKC. But again, I like to be able to do this as much as you're available to do so. But any last thoughts on the NBA before we head on out?
I think we kind of covered everything. It's really early. I don't want to overreact anything. No, I think that's about everything. I mean, I'm interested to see OKC when they're healthy as kind of a reporter and fan of the team, as well as just kind of a taker in of the NBA. I want to see how an ascended Jalen Williams, an ascended Chet Holmgren, and Shea all healthy work together, ideally for more than a few games like there was last year. So, but no, I think that's about everything. And everything's going great so far. Really entertaining season, high level basketball, close games. Glad to have the NBA back.
Sounds good to me. Once again, it is Calif Poncy. He's right. It has been an entertaining season so far. So hopefully he and I can go ahead and still continue to be on the air to go ahead and bring it to you. Go ahead and check out his great work today at the Suave Report indeed. But great to have you on, Calif. Looking forward to more discussions on the NBA, more observations that you have right here on the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.